Welcome to a Mugen character tutorial. I am going to show you how to make a Mugen character. I will teach you many things. I have many tutorials on my channel, so please subscribe. So this is a remake of the original tutorial I did many years ago. I'm editing a lot of things post-recording, so there may be some skipping here and there depending on what I cut in and out. I'm trying to not cut as much. Overall, the whole process will take several days or maybe several weeks just to record everything and then compile into one video. The goal is to make an in-depth character tutorial that is not 10 hours long or 10 parts long. I'm aiming for maybe a 2-hour long video, maybe 1 hour in each part, 2 parts, you know? That's the goal. So now I'm going to skip ahead to the clip where I start explaining what you need. Okay, to start off you need GIMP, you need an empty folder for the sprites, you need Kung Fu Man as a template, and you need sprites, of course. So we're going to start by opening GIMP. I'm going to explain how to properly index the sprites. So first load up your sprite sheet. I like to zoom into 100% so I could see better. Now we're going to add a layer. Actually, first we're going to delete all the unnecessary things we don't want to be in the palette, which is normally text and big portraits. Then you go select and select none. So now you add a layer. It's going to be blank and invisible. We're going to use the paint bucket tool, add a color that's not on the character. I'm going to use green in this instance. And now I'm going to merge the layers so it's a single layer now. Instead of 2 layers, it's 1. I go to image, go to mode, and index it to 255. I go to the color map option there. I pick the green so I can see which one it is. If you want more in-depth detail on how to do this in a slower pace, I have a video for that, and I'll put a card at the top right corner of this video. So click that and I'll explain everything in more detail. So now I index the sprites, I arrange the color palette, and I'm going to save this as the master palette. So if anything ever happens, I can go back to this one for all my references. So now I'm going to open up the sprites, and I'm going to fix the colors to my liking. I like teal, it's easier on the eyes. I'm going to save it, close it, and move into the sprites folder there. I'm going to open the Kung Fu Man folder now, and I'm going to rename it to the character's name, which is Ray McDougal, which is a strange name. So aside from renaming the folder, I have to rename all the files inside. Luckily, I can just highlight everything and do that. So I'll delete the intro and ending first, and the AI file. AI file does nothing, it does not work. Select everything, rename, there you go. Now you have to open the def file and rename everything in the def file as well. I like to keep it clean, so I erase all these unnecessary things. And I'm sorry if I'm speaking too fast. You could slow the video down using YouTube's speed option, or speed it up, whatever you feel like. So display name is what Mugen's going to show, and the name itself is what Mugen's going to use as a reference for the character, so it can interact with other characters or objects or stuff, but it's not as simple as it sounds. So I'm just going to rename all these KFM things to Ray McDougal. I used the copy combination on the keyboard, so I could just paste it all over the place. The AI file does not work. It is an unfinished Mugen code, so it won't really do anything for you, so you don't have to keep it. He's only going to have 6 palettes, I believe. And I'll leave it at that. So now the def file is done, so I can load this character up into Fighter Factory and he will load. However, it's Kung Fu Man, so it's not anything. So now I'm going to start by opening up the character. I'm going to clean up his palette box. Using the gradient tool up there, I can see what colors he has and not using and all that. I'm going to pick 2 colors that are not used. Usually black and black is what I use for the outlines. So I make the black, make that black, click that button, and the whole thing is gone. And I'm going to save. So this is his palette now moving forward. So what you have to do here, which I explained in the other video, I believe, is you basically have to remove all the other sprites and keep a single row. And then you basically remove pieces from that row one by one, and then you save the file. It is a short name. So for instance, the stand, I'm using S for the stand, because S is in stand. And for crouching, it'll be C. For attacks, I like to use A, B, X, Y. So right here, I'm just cleaning up the first row. Go to the first sprite, file, save as, put it in the folder. Wrong folder. Put S000, undo. Next one, file, save as, S001, undo, remove, file, save as, S002, undo, remove, save as. This is getting kind of dizzy, this talking over and over. Same thing. But basically, that's how I would rip the sprites. And I'm going to do this for the entire sprite sheet. So it's just a long process that I'm going to speed up. Because you don't want to watch me do this again years later. So time to fast forward. Alrighty, so I just finished ripping all of the sprites, and now I'm just going to look over them quickly. It's a bunch of blue, but when I preview it, it's still going to be a bunch of blue. But basically all of his sprites are now ripped singularly. You could just look over them if you want to when you're done. Yeah, so that's that part. So now we're going to start building the character's SFF file. I don't remember what SFF stands for, but basically it's the sprite file. So I'm going to open up Fighter Factory now, and I'm going to load up the Ray McDougal Kung Fu Man folder that I have. This one. It's still technically Kung Fu Man, I just changed the name for a few things. But obviously the sprites are all Kung Fu Man still. Alrighty, so we have to erase everything here, and the easiest possible way is to literally hit new. Oh, that's add. Oops. Sprites, new. And when you do that, you have to go to the palette side here, and you have to delete these palettes. This way the character starts fresh. So when you're building your sprite file, I always like to add everything based on animation numbers. So my sprite numbers are relative to my animation numbers. So this here is part of the Mugen docs. If you download a fresh Mugen folder or Mugen game, it comes with a docs folder. In the docs folder, if you open up air.html, you get this file. This is the format and standard. Now, all characters have this standard. This is what all characters should have. Essentially, all these animations. So for a basic animation such as standing, stand turning, and all this, I would use this file as my my reference point. So let's start off with Ray over here. So I'm going to add these sprites for his stand, which I named S00. So I'm just going to use S00. That stand is going to be group 0 because my number here is 0, and that's standing. So group 0, align to the bottom, crop before access. This erases all of the blue. Hit OK, and boom, there we go. Now we have Ray. Now on the right side, I'm sure you noticed the palette just kind of appeared. So your character palettes are basically group 1, index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. By default, that's what Mugen allows. Holy crap, look at his shoulders. Jesus. So to properly palette him, I have to change the group number to 1 and change the index number to 1. And now his palette is his. Like, this is what his default palette's going to be, and it's only one palette, so it's there. So as you can see, this is the stand animation. I'm scrolling through here, and now I have to align this. I want to at least have the stand, so I can align the stand and all the hit sparks and everything. So you see this line going left and right, this white line? That's the floor. So your character should not be in the air like this, because then they're floating. They can't be below, because then they're floating in the ground. Well, I mean this below. That's below, yeah. What I have here is good, because his front foot is on it. And actually his back foot's on the line. His front foot is 1 pixel down. So it adds to the effect of illusion. Okay. So there we go. And I play the animation back and forth. I got a stand. So I'm going to save the sprite file. I'm saving it as 1.0. If you're making a character for 1.1, it only works in 1.1. It will not work backwards compatible to 1.0. 1.0 is compatible with 1.1. So hit 1.0. Alright, Ray McDougal. Alright, so now the sprite file is saved. This is all Kung Fu Man animation here, but I'm just gonna edit this now just to get his stand going. So he goes 0, 1, 2, 3, and then we're gonna go backwards. 2 plus 1 plus, and that's it, because the first frame is 0. So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, and the plus basically adds whatever you select into the animation. So this is the animation now. Too slow. Let's go with 5. Okay, and that looks more natural. When I save the animation file, I'm gonna add a blue hitbox to him just for the sake of testing it now to demonstrating, and then I will skip ahead a lot. So I'm gonna load him up.
Get ready, fighters. Go for broke.
There you go, Ray McDougal. And there's one hitbox that's flashing. Oh, I put it in the wrong place. Ha, silly me. Copy this. Advanced technique. Go. There, I just moved the hitbox to the first frame. Click it, and now I'm going to turn it green. When it's green, it becomes a default hitbox, so then it's on all frames. When it's blue, it's on a single frame. But I want it green for this purpose. But that's for later. Now I'm going back to building his SFF. So I have the stand. So what I like to do first is all the hurt animations. I like to label them 5000. I notice his hurt animations are kind of funny though. I'm just gonna add all of the 5000 here and sort through them. He has a weird kind of hit where he barely gets tapped, it looks like. Not fully sure why that is. I could implement it, but I will not for the sake of... I did not crop anything. Crop. If you forget to crop this tool here, the triangle with the scissor, this is to crop it, and just hit all. And now, did it crop it? Wait. Oh, I know. I see this little black pixel over here. That's the bugger. So if you accidentally forget a pixel, just open up the image in the image editor within Fighter Factory, and you can essentially just wipe it out. Yeah, I did that for all the frames there. That sucks. But going back to what I was saying, I like to do, once I get the stand, I like to do all of the animations first, because when your character has all the hurt animations, it makes them feel more complete than to have them blink into obscurity and just disappear. And there's no real structure to it. Before, in the old version of Mugen, there was. You had to do the everything in a certain order. Nowadays, you do not. But it's a habit of mine to do that. Yeah, see? So, I want an onion skin, which lets me see previous frames, whatever one I want to pick, so I'll go stand. Yeah, see, this is the hurt frame here. He's hitting the head, hitting the head, hitting the head, hitting the head. It looks kind of wobbly, right? Because it is. I always have to align to one foot or the other. Sometimes one pixel does make a difference. It looks silly, I know. But then this one's like, ugh. Looks like someone tapped him. So I'm not going to include these frames. Actually, you know what? For the sake of completion, I will include them. I just won't use them. So 5,000 work like this. You have 5,000 index 0. That's the first frame. Then you have 10. Yep. Okay, then you have 10. And then you have 20. And then the extra frame is usually 21. Okay, and then these frames I will not use. They're just going to stay what their number is. So you have 3 alignments for your hurt animations. You have the standing hurt. I'm going to duplicate this. Group 5001. I'll move it to the midsection, and this is your align to midsection frame. And this is when they say someone grabs you. They can pick either they want to grab you by the midsection. They can use this. And duplicate again, 5002. And align to the head. Try to get the center. And this is in case someone wants to grab you by the head. They can use this frame, and pretty much their hand will be above your head here, and this is to align you correctly. So now I'll do the same for this. Duplicate this one, align to midsection. Duplicate again. Change the group to 5002, 5001 accordingly. Align to head. Next frame. Duplicate. Change group. Align. Duplicate. Change group. Align. And these extra frames like this, it's not necessary for the other ones, because the standing animation you have more control over. The midsection and the head you don't. So always remember that. And when you're done, everything is going to be a mess. You hit this blue up and down arrow here, and it opens up the organizer. With the organizer, you can put everything in order, or you can hit this button, auto, and it'll organize everything for you. I'm going to save the file again, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so now going back to the air file, the air documentation file, the reserved action numbers, I'm going to use this as a base, and I'm going to build him as a character. And this is pretty much all of his basic standard requirements that Mugen requires. This is not attacks. This is the basics. It's standing, crouching, walking, jumping, running, hopping back, guarding, 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 win, intro, lose, taunt, and then hurt animations galore. And then these are optional ones which he does not have animations for, so I will not use them, and more optional ones. And then at the bottom it has recommended action numbers. So 200 to 299 is standing attacks. 300 to 399 is more standing attacks and running attacks. You don't have to use this at all. I kind of don't, but generally 200 is where you start your attacks. And you can go anywhere with the numbers, but as this says, 5,000 to 59999 is reserved. Do not use 5,000 at all for any attacks or animations. Same for 0 to 199. So 200 to 4,999 is safe. And of course, you can always go to 6,000, and anything above 6,000, that's also safe. Okay, so now I'm going to skip ahead and add all of his sprites in according to the character reserved action numbers.
Shivering cold on a big city night. Well, that's just how you found me way back then. And in the startled blink of an eye, I knew my life was forever changed. Walking on a high wire, and if that's how life's gonna be, then I should have all the fun that I can. Yeah, that's a llama like me. Tonight's the night, right here, right now, I swear. I'll walk into the future without a care. Yeah, tonight when all my tears have come and gone, I'll say goodbye to yesterday's sad songs. Yeah, and there may come a time when I will hesitate. The waiting's part of life now. Tonight's the night, please hear me out to the end. Could you please be the one, my carefree friend? Yeah, tonight I need my dreams to all come true. Please tell me if that sounds like a plan to you. Yeah, I know that it may sound too simple to be true, but hey, well that's like two. But hey, well that's like two.
So, after you finish adding all your sprites in accordance to this, I found that in this case in particular, there are a few liberties that you need to make. Ray does not run, so I skipped enemy, group 100, 105. And also, you can also skip, for guarding, you can skip groups 130 to 152 in the sprites, because you can reuse the sprites for multiple animations. So we're just going to use the 120, 121, 122 for all four sets of these animations. Also, I think I may have mislabeled it, but I think his lose animation that I put is actually his intro animation. I'm not fully sure. When I get to it, I'll figure it out. Another thing is there are a few more liberties. So this is a good guide for the most part. 50-40 air recover. So that's the animation for air recovering. However, sorry, that's the animation for air recovering. However, 50-40 is what Mugen would prefer you to use for when they hit the ground. So I guess that's do everything the way it says up to 5030. After that, you have to make a few liberties to make it fit properly. So just going over the sprite file now with Ray. 0 is stand, 5 is turning, 6 is crouch turning, 10 is crouching, 11 is crouched, 20 is walking forward, 21 is walking backwards, 40 is getting ready to jump. Actually, yeah, I'm using the same group. 40, it's supposed to be 41, but 40 can work all the same. And here's the thing, when you align jumps, a lot of people make this mistake. You don't keep the feet at the bottom at all times. Your feet have to leave the axis. You're aligning to the torso. That's the easiest way to explain it. And then when you flip forward or flip back, depending on your character, a lot of people tend to align all the sprites here at first, but if you just pretend there's a circle around his body, you can actually just align it correctly like this. And you have to figure out where the body parts would fall depending on the animation. His is straightforward, so it's nice. Then they have stand guard and crouch guard. I'm going to reuse crouch guard as an air guard as well. All I gotta do is just move it up like this, literally. Let me undo that. Then I have what I assume was his lose pose, but I think this is his intro. Have a win pose, have his standing hurt animations, his midsection hurt animations here, his crouching hurt animations here, his falling animation. He only has 3 falling frames of animation, so I double them up. So 50, 30, 0 and 50, 30, 10 are the same. 20 and 30 are the same. 40 and 50 are the same. A lot of characters have all 6 frames of difference. Ray does not. So I had to do the duplicating of the sprites. When you're doing animations, you only have to do animation once. However, when you're doing the sprites for the standard Mugen required sprites, you have to fill in that spot. And if you look in this corner here, you'll see this red X. If you click it, it'll tell you everything wrong with your character. And if you're missing an animation, it'll give you a list of all the animations, standard animations that you are missing. I just finished them, and this is just some leftover stuff from Kung Fu Man. It has to be fixed. So 50-30 is falling, align to the midsection falling, align to the head falling, hit the floor, bounce up in the floor, hit the floor, dead. Hit while on the floor. And now the same frames, just align at the midsection, and then again align at the head. 50-60 is when you get uppercutted and your head is up in the air and you're flying straight up, and then you're gonna flip down. Ray does not have a frame like that, so I used unused frame. So he gets hit in the chin, he flies straight up, and this is him falling down. He does not have a downward trajectory frame, so I'm using the same as his regular fall frame. And then align to midsection, align to head. And now 50-70 is when someone is holding you up by your stomach into the air above their head. I just flipped the hurt sprites, the falling sprites, 180 degrees. And I'm using that pretty much. So 0 and 10 are the same frame, and 20 is the frame he's held up. Held up? What the hell did I say? And then align to midsection, align to head, and that is it. Once you have all these frames, which is 102 frames of animation, you basically have a base character. Now if I put him in Mugen, let's see what I get.
Get ready, fighters.
That's a
Go
blinking.
for broke.
See? The animations are fully set yet, that's why he disappears like this. Oh yeah. Gotta love it. Let's try the win pose.
KO.
Nothing.
It all depends on your skill. Face it straight.
But you see, if I did the attacks, you can see all the hurt animations are in there. And you see how just by having that, it makes the character look a little bit more complete. Alrighty. So, what's next? Let's see.